Hello and welcome to the 25th Vermont Grazing and Livestock Conference. I would like to take a moment to thank our sponsors. I would like to thank the National Grazing Lands Coalition, Food Animal Concerns Trust, Morrison's Custom Feeds, Rural Vermont, and the Vermont Agency of Agriculture, Food and Markets. I would also like to thank our partners. I would like to thank the United States Department of Agriculture, National Institute of Food and Agriculture, and the National Resources Conservation Service. I would also like to thank Cedar Tree Foundation and the Forrest C. and Francis H. Latner Foundation. Thank you for joining us for the 25th Grazing and Livestock Conference. The conference is brought to you by the University of Vermont Extension Center for Sustainable Agriculture and the Vermont Grass Farmers Association. Enjoy the content. Hello, welcome everybody. My name is Megan Sheridan. I'm the Executive Director of the Vermont Grass Farmers Association. Before we start our final keynote, I would like to thank a few special people. I'd like to thank Colleen Reed and Jen Colby for all of their work in making this conference possible. I'd also like to thank all of the staff at the Center for Sustainable Agriculture. I'd also like to thank all the panelists and presenters, the VGFA board members, and the volunteers who made this conference happen. Thank you for bringing it and getting it done. Certainly shifting to a virtual conference has been a lot of work, and we couldn't have done it without you all. And now it is my pleasure to bring to you Ernesto and Jonathan. Ernesto Mendez is a professor of agroecology and environmental studies at UVM, and he's the interim chair of the Plant and Soil Science Department. His research and teaching efforts focus on developing and applying interdisciplinary approaches that analyze interactions between agriculture, livelihoods, and environmental conservation in tropical and temperate rural landscapes. And Jonathan Lundgren is an agroecologist. He's the director of Ectasis Foundation. I practiced that a lot. I'm not sure I got it right. And CEO of the Blue Dasher Farm. Jonathan's research and education programs are helping applied science evolve in ways that foster the movement in regenerative agriculture. So today's keynote format will be in an interview format. So Ernesto and Jonathan, Ernesto is going to interview Jonathan, which will give us a unique look at his work and put a little bit of a New England spin on it. I'm super excited to have them both here today. I was inspired actually to do this keynote this way by watching something that Ernesto had did, actually an interview that was on a pretty challenging topic that Ernesto navigated gracefully and kept me interested for about 2 hours. It was an Aiken lecture series topic. And so it inspired me to think that we could do something very different with Jonathan. And I'm so excited that Jonathan's here too. So for those of you, not to miss out on a presentation by Jonathan, he has many on the internet and you can see them. I've had the opportunity to see him do 3 or 4 presentations live at the Grass-Fed Exchange, and those are all up. And I will say, when I look back at my photos of those conferences, I'm pretty sure I took a picture of like every single one of Jonathan's slides. So I find his work really inspiring, and I've wanted to have him here for many years, and I'm grateful that he's here. And I also will say that when I watched him, the work is extraordinary. He's extraordinary. And quite frankly, I wish I'd known about this kind of research when I was in graduate school. So it's really exciting to have you here. And thank you, Ernesto, for taking this on. And I turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. First of all, I wanted to thank Megan and the organizers of the conference for inviting me. It's really exciting to participate in alternative ways of communicating with people. So that's why I really wanted to participate. And this is going to be a bit of an interview where I'm bringing my approach that I use in my work, which is agroecology, and which Jonathan uses too. And I'm just going to define that really quickly. Like in its basic form, agroecology is the application of ecology to agriculture. And I would say that now it has evolved to include issues of justice and societal transformation. So I wanted to start by asking Jonathan to just tell us how he got here. A bit of an origin story, like very brief. What led you to do the work that you do and that has inspired so many people, and as we heard, Megan included.
Yeah. Just in here, thanks, Megan. Thanks, Ernesto. It's really good to be here. Who would have thunk that, I mean, even 10 years ago, that a conference like this would even be going on, let alone having this crazy idea of agroecology, you know, featured prominently there. It's what an inspiring time we live in right now. So I actually, I was trained as an entomologist. So insects were kind of my thing for many, many years. And I got a doctorate down in Illinois, master's at Minnesota, bachelor's at Minnesota, all that good stuff. And I worked for USDA as one of their research entomologists for a long time. And it became more and more, or less and less satisfying. I felt like I was working and doing a good job. And by all the metrics that I was being assessed by, I was rocking it, right? You know, I was really at the top of my field. And then but yet I could still drive through the upper Midwest and it was still predominantly corn, soybeans, and cows. And not just cows, but poorly managed cows, not just corn and soybeans, but monocultures, you know, for acres and acres. And my science was contributing to that. And I'm like, you know what? This doesn't feel right. And then I started meeting farmers that were really starting to change things. And we used our science to validate what these folks were saying. They weren't calling it regenerative agriculture at the time, but these were the forerunners of what is now being regarded as the regenerative movement. Meanwhile, I also met a lot of beekeepers and they were saying, insecticides are killing our bees. And I said, oh, no, you know, I mean, maybe, but that's gray. You know, the science is not conclusive on that. And they said, come on out here and watch our bees die, and then you tell us the science isn't conclusive. That's different, isn't it? And I was just determining what was happening in the natural world by reading it on my computer desktop and reading the latest science on it. And that's not experiential knowledge, and that's not how science should be conducted. And so we changed things. I quit my job. I quit kind of noisy. I filed a whistleblower complaint because they were trying to suppress the research we were doing on insecticide risks. And then we started something totally new. Ecdysis Foundation is kind of grassroots science meant to drive a social revolution in our farming communities. Would not have guessed that we'd still be around after 5 years, but I'll be darned. And even growing, and the impact that we've had has exceeded anything that I could have predicted.
Thank you so much. That's a great story. And actually, you mentioned what my next question is going to be about, because you know, I've been in the field of agroecology for almost 3 decades now, and right now we're hearing a lot of people use the term regenerative agriculture. And excuse me, I have a really hard time with regenerative because English is my second language. But tell us more about that. How do you define it? And, you know, we all know that all these terms are relative and there's different definitions, but we're really just interested in hearing you and your experience after your story. How do you see what regenerative ag is?
Oh, you know, I mean, there's elements, there's a lot of overlap, okay, number one, between organic and permaculture and holistic grazing and all of the many of these other elements, right? And I don't know, but I think there needed to be some repackaging because some of those names have have accumulated some baggage, and not all of them necessarily reflect what's going on. So how do I define regenerative? Well, I kind of have two general definitions, and we're just about to publish on this. It's submitted to the journal. It should be available hopefully in the next week or two. For croplands, no-till, always living roots on the ground, usually in the form of cover crops, never leave bare soil. Plant diversity, very important. And then animal integration is really important as well. Organic amendments like compost teas, and then abandoning synthetic agrochemicals. Within rangelands, which might be a little bit more appropriate for this crowd, we think of, number one, get off of the drugs, the avermectins, ivermectins, all of those things. That's important. High stocking densities, move them frequently, let it rest. And it's just that simple. When they do this, and to varying degrees, the responses that we've been able to measure in terms of biodiversity and soils and even their economic resilience is pretty profound. So it works. These simple definitions work.
Okay, so I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, because I think that in agroecology and the multidimensional type that I use with the community of practice at UVM, we like to look also at social issues and also, you know, sort of like look at what the political landscape is when we're talking about these terms and applying them, and who are we working with. And from the agroecology side, there's been some concerns about regenerative ag as already being somewhat co-opted by industrialized ag advocates. And, you know, like you can find a whole site at Cargill that talks about how Cargill supports regenerative ag. And what do you think about something like that?
I think it really scares me because, and that's part of the issue with naming something, right, is that it can become corrupted pretty quickly. And right now, there's a lot of people trying to clamp that. Number one, there's an incentive for being classified as regenerative. I mean, it's a perception that's very good for regenerative agriculture right now. Mm-hmm. So there's an incentive to be regenerative, and there isn't a formal definition that's really well recognized. Let's put it that way. There's elements of it for sure, and there's been a couple of papers that have come out that have tried to synthesize some of those efforts. But there's still a lot of loopholes. And at the end of the day, you know, whether you call it organic, whether you call it permaculture, whether you call it biodynamic, whether you call it holistically raised, grass-fed, pastured, all of these names, all of those things we can stamp it on the side of the package. None of them overcome knowing your farmer.
I totally agree with that one.
And I think that's that we can't. We just can't we can't overlook that. That I think needs to be our central goal.
So we're gonna stay on. We're gonna get back to the farmers in a question a little later, but I'm gonna keep you on the terms right now. Partly because I think in Vermont, and what we discussed with Megan, there are some initiatives and approaches right now in Vermont and the Northeast with a focus on regenerative ag, but also the other concept that I wanted to ask you about is ecosystem services. And how do you see this concept or this approach, the way it's applied, as supporting both ecologically sound farm management, which is something you've been talking about already, but also one piece that is really important to me in my work is the livelihoods of farmers, their families, their communities.
Yeah. So in a healthy functioning system, so we're not just trying to conserve soil health and biodiversity for biodiversity's sake. We're doing it because biodiversity and healthy soils do things, right? And what they're doing are ecosystem services. They're improving the profitability. They're improving the resiliency. And it's not something that you always are able to see immediately in terms of a cost and effect kind of a thing on your balance sheet. I mean, when you spend money on fungicide or something, you get to go out there and you get to watch that fungus die, right? And there's something, the very clear connection there. And economists, I think, are getting better and better at valuing ecosystem services, but at this point, I don't know that that's communicated in a way that farmers always understand. At the end of the day, what we're showing is that regenerative systems tend to be twice as profitable in the ones that we've examined. We don't always know all of the different ways that they're profitable, but we sure do know that they are. And those regenerative systems aren't on a research farm. Those are operating regenerative farms. So how to value ecosystem services, I think that that's a really important question. I don't know that that always should be the motivation, though.
Great. And so one of the conversations that we're having here in Vermont, both at the farmer level, UVM's also involved, some of the units at UVM, and with the legislature and some of the state agencies, is the payment for ecosystem services. How is there a way that farmers can get paid to conserve, to support? This is something that I've worked with also internationally. What do you think about those types of mechanisms? And again, I do have a farmer bias here, so I'm usually always asking about how is this going to affect the farmer and the land?
Yeah, I fall on the side of regenerative systems need to be functional farms without subsidies. And whether you call a service plan or something like that a subsidy or not, I don't know, but we could debate that, I'm sure, too. But I want these farms to be functioning farms without any inputs, like in terms of the services that are provided there. If we figure out a way to use those services or fee for services kind of a thing for aiding in transition, so be it. I think that that's fine. But long term, these regenerative operations need to be self-sufficient and they need to be profitable. And I hope that that's so to me, getting money for how much predation you have or carbon you're sequestering shouldn't be the motivation of a regenerative farmer. They should be, at least not directly, I don't think.
Okay, so you see it more as something that can help in a transition, someone who might be going from a less regenerative model to one that is more supportive and conserves ecosystem services.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, I don't want the farmers to be dependent on these things.
Okay, autonomy. So speaking of farmers, I am really interested in a lot of your work in your websites and publications. You speak about farmer-led research, which aligns really well with the approach that we use in our community of practice, which we call participatory action research. And I'm really excited to see that. And I wanted to ask you, when you talk about farmer-led research, how do you differentiate it from more traditional, conventional research that, as we heard in your story, that's the kind of work you were probably doing before in the USDA? How is it different? How is this farmer-led research different?
Well, I think I can kind of answer that question maybe best with a story. So we got a grant, and this grant was intended to study whether cover crops could be used in cornfields in the upper Great Plains in terms of pest management. And so what we did is we were like, all right, we need to find the best farmers who are using cover crops. And now these are, regarded as regenerative farmers, but these were the most innovative, progressive farmers in the region, in North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Minnesota. And we went out there and we said, okay, all right, we're scientists. are the farmers, right? What we need you to do is we need you to plant this cover crop at this time. We need you to use this corn variety. We need you to, and then we started, and then so we provided this treatment. You need to replicate it 4 times on your farm, and then you need to have an untreated control, right? You need to have bare soil control. And they were like, how do we maintain bare soil? I mean, we don't do that on our farms. We don't use glyphosate, right? Wait a minute, how much fertility are we supposed to put? Because the guy down the road is doing something different than what we are, and the experiment was a total failure. And I'm like, all right, what happened was that we went to the best farmers of the region and decided we knew more than they did. And we lost what was special about their farms. And so what we did next, the next year, is we said, you're the expert. You've been doing this for a long time. Point us to your corn field, and we're going to study that. And they did. And then we said, point us to your neighbor's cornfield, who's a really good conventional farmer, or at least very profitable and successful, right? And they did that, and we studied those cornfields. And that study changed everything, right? That was best management practices, not defined by scientists. They were defined by successful farmers. And that experiential knowledge is not something that you learn in a classroom. It's not something that you learn in a textbook. It's something that you learn it by doing. And the farmers are so far ahead of the science right now in regarding regenerative agriculture that the scientists, it's a very humbling experience, right? We've been trained for decades to be the experts of our field. It's time for us to learn or relearn what we think we know. And it's time for the farmers to become our teachers again. And that's really what we've been doing. Is we haven't been trying to change regenerative farmers. We've just been trying to capture what these, I'll say it affectionately, these wackos are doing out there, and as they're changing their own communities and everything. It's absolutely exciting, it's exhilarating, and it's much different than any other kind of science that's out there. The systems level stuff that's defined not discretely into reductionist components, but rather the full system.
That aligns a lot with the way we do things. We always say that one of the most important things about doing this type of work is humility. Is that you are able to go and say, you know what, I don't know that much about this, way more than I do. And that's exactly what I hear you said. And but there are a lot of people that question that, right? As I was trained as a natural scientist too, and there's always a constant questioning, and the control is not just right, and it's not going to be publishable. So what challenges and what opportunities do you see when you apply this type of work, this approach?
Well, we're rethinking, so we run into problems publishing this in the peer-reviewed science, right? And it's not because it's bad science, it's because the rest of the community isn't ready for it. One thing that's been interesting is, I tell my graduate students before they even start their projects, I'm like, you're going to get up there, and this, I don't know, I don't want this to sound the wrong way, but you're going to get up at one of the biggest meetings of the country on your discipline, whether it's Wildlife Society or Entomological Society or whatever, your peers, and you're going to give one of the most progressive, forward-thinking presentations at this meeting, and nobody's going to understand what you're talking about. And they're not going to think that this is important at all. And that's really challenging for these students who want to be so recognized for doing this amazing work. I used to tell them, in about 5 years, maybe 10 years, your science is going to, everybody's going to be citing this, right? What's been interesting is that window is starting to shrink. And we had, like, one of my graduate students is studying bees right now. She's working on the microbial community of symbionts and honeybees and how that affects pesticides and their immune function and everything like this on a systems level perspective. She started her stuff last year. I'm like, yeah, nobody else is really thinking about it this way. And she cited a paper that was just published because the scientific community is like, basically just laid out her thesis. This work needs to be done. I'm like, wow, we're catching up. So that's a good sign.
So that's great to hear. Do you find any challenges from the farmer side?
Sure. Change is hard, and different groups of farmers require much different messaging, right? The data works real well for some farmers. They want to see that this is replicable. They want to see all of this sort of stuff. There's other farmers who want to know the personal story and how and they want to know more about you, the scientist, than about your data. One of my scientists here at Ecdysis, he said, let me see if I get this right. He said he was taught that if it doesn't matter how good your data, or if you have bad data, I'm not even going to say it. Basically, you need the farmers to trust you as a human being and as a scientist, and that's really important. And it's not something you're trained in graduate school, and so that's a real challenge. Did I answer your question? I forgot what the question was.
Absolutely. The question was about challenges from the farmers, and I think, I mean, we talk about this all the time. Is that, you know, a lot of the parameters by which we are evaluated in science don't allow for the time and sometimes the engagement that is required to build trust.
Yeah.
And in 2 years, you have to show results, and you need to focus only on quantitative data. And so I think, yeah, you answered that. And I think for me, you know, one of the challenges I face, I think, in the work is that a lot of farmers are already biased because the scientists before me didn't take the time to really earn their trust. So then they're like, I don't know if I want to work with you guys again. The last one. Yeah. But I'm glad to hear you're doing it. That's what we're doing too.
Yeah, I think another important point there is, you know, I mean, we just is another one that's told with a story, and that is the importance of science and gaining that trust. And so we had one of our almond producers out in California. So we did this regenerative versus conventional comparison of almond production out in California, Central Valley, and the regenerative almond orchards had they used no insecticides or anything, and the other ones sprayed, you know, and we compared pest populations. They didn't just eliminate insecticides, they replaced those insecticides with things like biodiversity and good management, basically. Showed them the data, there was no difference in pest populations. And this conventional producer who was part of our study, he looked at the data and he's like, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Everything that I've been taught from the major universities and all of the crop consultants and everybody in this world said I was doing everything right. And I sprayed insecticides 5 times last year. And what you're telling me is that the guy right across the road from me who's never sprayed a thing has the same number of pests. And I don't believe it. But that farmer, after seeing that, it inspired him to change 160 acres of his orchard over to a regenerative model. And so that's the power of what we're talking about. This isn't just an anecdote, but it was us sitting at a kitchen table with this guy too.
And it planted a seed. And I was going to say, like, I bet you he tried something different.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know.
Absolutely, he did. Yeah.
I don't believe this, but I'm going to try it anyway.
Well, it changes everything that they've been taught. And the farmers aren't trying to do something wrong, right? They think that they're doing everything right. And And it's just that the industry hasn't changed yet, or yeah, I don't know.
I'm seeing some really interesting questions here, but I think I'm going to keep going with what we are. And you are touching on a point that I had on a question coming up later on. So I'm going to ask it right now. And it's the role of science, because this is really at the heart of your work, my work as a university professor and as a scientist. Like, how do you see the role of science in the more practical side of ecologically sound grazing and pasture management? Because, you know, in this conversation we're having, what I see sometimes in my own work is that there is it's almost like farmers are interested, but they don't quite know how to engage with the science. And part of it has been, you know, there have been people in the past that might have been arrogant or just didn't know how to communicate it. But what are your thoughts about that? How can we get better at engaging farmers with our science?
So are you thinking of this from like a communication standpoint, or are you thinking about this from the standpoint of encouraging farmers to participate in research, or what are you thinking about?
Yeah, I mean, what I've always told people is the reason I keep doing science with farmers is because I think that it can be helpful for farmers.
Yeah.
So, you know, we say sort of like we do research with people for people. Yeah. But then sometimes there's this, and sometimes I don't think it's a pushback from the farmers, just the quite not knowing how to incorporate science into their operations in order to generate data, and then how to use the data. So it's just a more of a like building more comfort, more engagement at the farmer level.
Well, I guess when you think about it from the standpoint of, you know, I mean, if we're asking a farmer to make changes to their operation, data-driven changes to their operation, then absolutely those farmers need to be involved in the collection of that data that drives that decision. I think that seeing is believing, and a farmer needs to understand that what they're doing is going to be reliable and make an impact in the next generation, right? Or in the next iteration of their farm. And so from that perspective, I think that, yeah, farmers are really important. Farmers for us, you know, are really important and again, this gets back to that relationship aspect of it. I mean, this is a give and take, right? I mean, farmers have driven our research questions so often because they went out there and they saw something wacky on their farms that they'd never expected to see and want an explanation for it. And I'm like, hell if I know. I mean, nobody's ever done that before. So why would we expect science is catching up here, right? And so that can inform the types of questions that we ask. And then, you know what? Good golly, that helps to forge relationships with the farmers. I mean, we're operating totally from a farmer's perspective at that point and trying to solve, you know, troubleshoot what they're experiencing as they're experiencing it. That's been a really important role for Ecdysis. I mean, we were kind of like, all right, if you're growing corn, beans, cows in a traditional method, you have the science that you need in order to, but if you're integrating livestock with cropland, or you have a 7 or 8 species rotation with, you know, 35 species of cover crops, or interseeding, or pasture cropping, or you know, silvopasturing thing, that's where we fit in. You don't have a lot of science, right? Because you're the minority, you're that sliver in there. But that sliver becomes the future of agriculture. So we really like that niche for us.
Yep. So, and I'm hearing also, like, if you use the example of the previous example where the farmer told you, like, I don't believe that, in some ways, it seems that there is a motivation for the farmer to be involved in order to know that what you're bringing back to them is reliable, right? Like, I saw it, I saw you collecting the data. I know that this is true and I believe it.
I think that that's absolutely true. And another aspect of it, and one way that, you know, I think that we're trying to be a little bit different is, So I'm a farmer and I'm a beekeeper now. I never did that before. I was a scientist, right? But we started Blue Dasher Farm, which is an operating regenerative farm. I don't have, as a farmer, I don't have a luxury of running a replicated experiment when something goes weird on my farm. I need to make a decision. I need to shoot from the hip, and I need to do it now. And having that perspective changes the types of questions that we ask. I remember I was teaching a class down in New Zealand, and they were talking about a new orchard pest that they were experiencing, and what would we do as a group of scientists to help to combat this invasive pest that was coming into, in this case, it was Australia. There was an Australian student there. And they went through and they were like, all the scientists in the room, they were like, well, first off, we need to figure out where this thing is from, and we need to go back to the original range of the pest, and we need to characterize the entire natural enemy community of this thing, and then look at the safety of releasing these new natural enemies. And meanwhile, we'll also develop, an integrated pest management scheme where we figure out exactly when to spray the insecticides and all this stuff. And I kind of raised my hand and I'm like, what you guys in this room just proposed was about 20 years of research that needs to be done on this pest. The farmer just lost his orchard. We need to be conducting science from the perspective of practicality. We need to, we need to get stuff done. And we don't always have that luxury when you're on the front lines.
I fully agree. And I think that's why the long-term relationships are so important too. We can have these networks of scientists and farmers that are constantly communicating and working together, then you're more likely to find answers quickly when you need them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one area of research that you've been working on a lot is the role of biodiversity. So I wanted to ask you, where do you see that connection between biodiversity and how it supports farm production, land conservation, and especially we know you're really into bees and insects. So the biodiversity of insects and bees and their contribution to a healthy farm, a healthy agro-ecosystem.
Yeah. So often we think about life as something that we need to kill, right? I have a new disease. I need to treat it with something. I have there's these insects in my flour in the kitchen. I better do something about it. We've got a pest of our animals that we're trying to, stop. Our interface with life tends to be focused on the very, very slim number of pests that are out there. And so I always try to remind farmers, we've done some numbers and you can debate those numbers as long as you'd like, but the point being, there's an awful lot of beneficial insects out there. We estimate 1,700 species of positive insects or neutral insects to every one pest that's out there on this planet. So, but yet our decisions and our management decisions so often focus on that one species that we forget all of the different ways that life, the other interactions with the rest of that community of life, be it in the case of an insect pest, maybe it's the plant community, the microbial community, the bird community. All of those interactions have combined into producing that outbreak. And unless you're controlling for everything else that's out there, guess what? You just bought a jug and you poured it out there, right? And you felt real good and it worked, right? It killed that pest, but it also killed everything else that produced, that was out of whack to begin with, that produced that pest outbreak. And so you're just setting up the stage for another resurgence. And until we change our mentality to, I've got to be conserving, promoting life and interactions among species on my farm, you're doomed. You can't get out of this rut. And so that's the key right there, is you've got to be managing and encouraging life on your farm. And when you do that, I mean, that's one of the central principles of regenerative farming, right? Instead of focusing just on yields and profits, what regenerative farmers do is they focus on soil health and biodiversity, and they find that the profits and the nutrient density of their farm products increase beyond what anything they could have done just by focusing solely on those two outcomes.
Yep. Excellent. That's great. You covered everything I wanted to ask you on that. We have some interesting questions here. Maybe I will move on to those just to change it a little bit. So I'm gonna ask these questions like straight as they are, because I believe in keeping truth to the questioner. So this one goes back to ecosystem services a little bit. What are some of the key indicators of ecosystem health? What should a farmer see walking around?
If you're doing things right on your farm, how do you know whether it's working, right? This is a question. And every farmer wants a dipstick, right? They want to be able to stick it into the soil and pull it out and say, no, that's full, right? And I wish that there was such a thing. I think that the dipstick for me is on my own farm. I know I'm doing things right if every day I can walk out there and see something I've never seen before. To me, that's one of the best measures of success. If I can go out there and see a species, maybe it's a butterfly, maybe it's a bird, maybe it's some interaction that I've never seen before in the life on my farm, to me, that's a really good sign that I'm doing the things right. So when you have that life, when it's apparent to people that are observing, and when you have a connection to it, that means your farm's working really well. And that doesn't mean you don't have problems, okay? I'm not, good Lord, I feel like I'm putting out fires left and right on this place. But at the same time, it changes the perspective of what your goals are, doesn't it? Instead of just looking for all of the problems, you're also looking for the opportunities. Or you change problems into opportunities.
I really like that. Really like that answer from the same person. How do we produce a socially diverse farming community given the high costs of land? And I'm not sure if this person is referring to racial diversity or economic diversity, but let's take it as a broad. In many places we live in, it would be both, I would guess.
Yeah. Yes, with the high prices of land, we're living in a land bubble right now, especially out in my neck of the woods. It's been incredible. I think that but the farms are also large out here, right? I think on average, average farm size is 400 acres in my area of the country. These are bigger farms. I think what we need to be doing, number one, because land prices are so high, is we need to be figuring out how to make money on 100 acres or less as a farmer. And regenerative agriculture does just that. Blue Dasher Farm is 53 acres. And it's when we go out, Christina and I go out on the farm and look around, there just is no end to the opportunities that we see for stacking enterprises and figuring out different revenue streams that we could bring off of this farm in creative ways. Time and people end up becoming limiting factors, but yeah, you can see every once in a while you have to choose your battles and you pick an opportunity, and I'll be darned if you just don't start integrating things in pretty well. So I think that ends up encouraging diversification on its own. Then what ends up happening is more farms that are smaller end up rebuilding rural communities, and hopefully there's a diversification that occurs within there in terms of perspectives, in terms of race and opportunities. And I don't know if that's the best answer. I live in the Dakotas, and so some of these questions of race and how to deal with these things, we're really confronting these on a daily basis, living in one of the whitest parts of the country. But it is important to always be thinking about how this works and how to incorporate that in, because those perspectives are so important.
Thank you. No, that was a great answer. And so here's one that is very directly and applied to our Vermont community. How can farms in the East or other locations partner with you to capture more data about our leading edge systems?
Wow. Oh boy, that leads right into a big issue for us right now. We're just starting what we're calling the 1,000 Farm Initiative, where we are, what we need in order to drive some of these policies and adoption rates and all of these things is we need a lot more data to show, number one, that regenerative systems, be they grazing or cropland or orchard or whatever, work. And then number two is that we need massive quantities of data that illustrate transition and how to best make the transition to a regenerative system most efficiently and cost effectively. And so what we're trying to do is we're going to be collecting full site inventories all over the country on these different systems. For a small fee, we come out, we generate soils, water, inverts, plants, microbes, birds, economics, yields, nutrient density on each of these sites. And there's some opportunities there for if we get enough in a cluster, in a regional cluster, for us to come out and take these measurements that are then networked into this greater national database that we're trying to generate here at Ecdysis. So stay tuned for more on that. But that would answer your question and be an opportunity for producers to participate in something big.
So would they just go to our website and get your contact and email you?
Yeah, I think that's the best route is to get, especially if there's a sufficient number of people out there that we can justify spending staff's time to get out there. I think that's huge, and we would love to get your guys' involvement in this whole thing.
Great. Okay, I see one from one of my people from my group, Scott Lewins. I appreciate your perspective on subsidies for ecosystem services. If the incentives are accounted for in the price of the outputs, is that a reasonable approach? Why or why not?
So you mean, help me understand that a little bit. So you're saying that the price, that there's a premium associated with a regenerative product? Is that what he's getting at, do you think?
Yeah, so if you think about, it would be more like paying more because you know that the regenerative farm is actually going beyond just producing a crop and also conserving ecosystem services.
Yeah. We end up seeing most of our regenerative farms end up getting a premium, and a lot of that is related to direct marketing of their products. So like I said before, we don't necessarily see a yield drag associated with these systems. So they're producing the same quantity of food. They tend to lower input costs oftentimes, and they tend to increase revenue. So we see usually about twice the profit out of these regenerative systems that we've studied so far. And then I think Ryan Schmid, one of our scientists, presented earlier some of his kind of projections on what mob grazing would incorporate in terms of economics into your operation long term. We were enjoying going through some of his slides and thinking about those ideas. And gosh, you're increasing stocking density. You're also reducing a lot of inputs in terms of fertilizer and insecticides. That's great. So I don't mind charging a little bit more. Again, that comes down to farmers having relationships with their customer base, isn't it? And I think that does help to justify even more going a regenerative route, especially if your farm is profit motivated.
So I have one here that is it's more personal. So is Dr. Lundgren's farm profitable without subsidies? Obviously not living without outside income. I'm wondering how he would deal with the fact that the playing field is not in any way level. At scale, we are competing with farms that are receiving subsidies. Shouldn't we be paid for a real community benefit like carbon capture?
I don't think you should be paid for that in the long term. I don't think that the subsidies are right for the conventional systems, quite frankly. I think that the subsidies in the farm insurance, as it's applied right now, is supporting a broken system and is what's a huge problem right now in this country. So I don't think that more of the same is going to get us out of that mess. Is Blue Dasher Farm profitable? When I was started out, it was so wonderful. You know, I sat down and I penciled everything out and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to make so much money. This is wonderful. I mean, good golly, we're going to have, you know, I mean, we're going to sell this much bee or honey off of our farm and we're going to do all of this. And it was not. I'm like, what, you know, unforeseen problems ended up coming about, right? It took us 3 years to be in the black, and now we are profitable. But that was, I mean, just like any small business, you have to understand that, okay? There are other farmers who are much better at farming than I was, okay? I made so many mistakes. It's incredible, but I learned from each of those. And so, yes, is Blue Dasher Farm profitable? Yes, it is. We are always trying to increase that profit margin. And what we would like is to be able to, off of our 53 acres, have a reasonable salary for the center director or whatever here of around $50,000 just from farm.
So that leads me to this question that I saw very early on. But what is your sense of, let's just say that someone is farming conventionally and really wants to move into regenerative. What is your advice in terms of transition? Like, and the person asking said, should it be cold turkey or mellow transition? What's your sense?
So what we end up finding is that the more regenerative practices you incorporate into your operation, the more ecosystem benefits and resilience and profit that you end up generating on that farm. To me, what that said, and there's also this bimodal distribution going on here, where there's two clouds of data. There's the folks who adopt very few regenerative practices. Those end up clustering off into the conventional side of things. And then you see another clustered over here, but there's very few that are kind of in the middle, right? There isn't many farms that are successful long-term that just try to incorporate one or two. Like, I'm just going to go no-till this year, or I'm going to increase my my herd density, but not move them very often. You don't see that very often, right? And so what we end up seeing, I think, it is some advice there. And what that advice is I think that you need to adopt a full system right off of the bat. But I would not bet the entire farm on that full system right off of the bat. Just like anything, any good corporation devotes about 10% of their operation to R&D. And farms are a business. They should be devoting about 10% of their operation to trying something punting. They should be trying something wacky that everybody else says isn't going to work at the coffee shop. And as a result of that, they are going to innovate their operation and be on the front edge instead of always trailing behind.
That's great. And I'm going to ask you one that I get asked a lot about agroecology. And as we have been, now we're working in all over the world and in different projects. And the question is, knowing your farmers is great, but is regenerative agriculture scalable? Can we feed everyone this way?
Absolutely, 100% yes. we can scale regenerative, and we also can feed the world using regenerative. In fact, I don't think we can feed the world with a growing population unless we go regenerative. So I think that we need to rethink that question and ask it correctly. So scaling is an interesting question, right? And how do you scale? When you have large urban populations, for example, or when you, I mean, farming regeneratively here on a Blue Dasher, I mean, Christina and I are busy all the time with doing things out on the farm. And so we end up, we start thinking, boy, it'd be nice to have that piece of ground right across the road. Or it'd be also nice to have that little plot of ground over there. And part of me is like, my gosh, I mean, what would we do with additional acreage? And we'd have to hire more help. And so scaling would require the appropriate adjustments to your operation in order to do it correctly. But I do think that it is scalable. Do I think that there should be 10,000 acre farms out there? Boy, I don't know. I don't know that I don't know that a farmer can be connected to the land that he's trying to promote under those circumstances. But I also don't think it's necessary either. I mean, you can have a very, very profitable farming operation with less than a few hundred acres. So, yeah, I think we need to change our perspective on farming and change the metrics of success, that's for sure. It isn't the number of acres planted that should be our metrics of success. It needs to be how many dragonflies we have out there.
I would totally agree with that. And I will say that my personal opinion is that the notion about feeding the world is one that I'm a critic of, because I'm always wondering who's we. like people, I'm from Latin America, and people from Latin America are feeding themselves. They're not getting fed by this we entity.
Yeah, for
sure. So we're almost out of time, so I want to be respectful of that, but I'm gonna end asking you, what's coming up next for you? What's exciting in the future year and later that you want to share with us so we can keep an eye on it?
Boy, we have some, it's been a crazy ride. That's for darn sure. Over the last 5 years, we've grown exponentially. We have projects going on now in California, Canada, the Dakotas, Southeast, Michigan, Kansas, Oklahoma, Wisconsin. We're all over the place now. So that's been really exciting as we've ramped up how we've been able to do this. I think the most exciting thing for us is some of the work that we're coming out this year will be out of the almonds and out of our rangeland systems. And you guys saw some of that from Ryan earlier. There's some really exciting things that are going on that are validating those things. And then beyond that, this 1,000 Farm Initiative is going to change agriculture and how science is done, I really think. We're so excited about putting that down onto paper and implementing it. So it's an exciting time, that's for sure.
Well, we are right out of time. And again, Jonathan, this has been really great. It was really fun. And I really hope we cross paths again. So thank you, everybody. Megan, I don't know if you want to wrap it up.
I just want to thank you both for doing it. It was great. It's been a wonderful conference, and you guys are a great tying it all together and saying goodbye for another year. So hopefully next year we'll all get to hug each other and raise a glass in our evenings so together. But thank you, gentlemen. And thank you to everybody who soldiered through with our technical issues. And we'll have the videos up in give us a week, and we'll get everything up for you to look at the pre-recorded videos. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.